What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. DK Show up on the air. Your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also streaming it up at sportstalk1051.com. You got the app, you got your smart devices, video stream also up and rolling. YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Appreciate you making us a part of your starts on this wet/snowy Monday morning. Got a lot of school closings out there. I know the Eau Claire School District on spring break and such, so timing works out for them. But a lot of other schools going to be closed up today. You can catch or check out that entire list by visiting sportstalk1051.com and clicking on the icon on the right-hand side there if you're on the desktop. That's the WEAU 13 News First Alert School Closings, brought to you by Service Master, Chippewa Valley, and Hovlands. But it is a big list. Otherwise, I'd go through it with you. But yeah, it's rather large. So go ahead and check that out if you're a kiddo, or if you are a kiddo and you're listening, to see if you don't have school today or not. But if you're Eau Claire, you already don't have it. Spring break. So there you got it. But hey, what else do we got on the good old dockets for us here this morning? Man, how the brackets looking for you? How you looking with your brackets on our bracket challenge? Shout out to Paul and Kyle, both tied up there for first place in our bracket challenge there. But rather kind of mostly chalk, would you say? Yeah, NC State's in there and such, but got all the one seeds still in there, right? You got all top or all 4 one seeds in it. Then you're kind of looking at you've got uh, all the 2 seeds, 2 of the 3 seeds, 2 of the 4 seeds, 2 of the 5 seeds, 1 6 seed, 1 11 seed. Pretty chalkish, pretty chalky right now. One of those 5 seeds that is not in it, though, is your Wisconsin Badgers, as well, their short run. It was a short run. One and done Friday night, late Friday night against James Madison, 72-61. Don't think we necessarily need to break down and go over that game in itself, but nonetheless, a frustrating and incredibly frustrating end to a. How would you describe this season? Like, I've been trying to think of a word, a verb, adjective, whatever, just like one word to describe this season, and I don't think it's disappointing. I don't think it's. I just keep going back to weird, because what, in January at one point? So we begin the season. Before we get to January, we begin the season. They're not ranked. Don't really know what to expect. Don't really have high expectations. Then all of a sudden they start off really well. They get up to number 6 in the country, and then they maybe come back to earth, or maybe then they really kind of screwed up and just whatever the heck happened. Then you start to play a little bit better towards the end, just maybe in the Big Ten Conference tournament. But then it looked like another game where it was, the bugaboos that came out, throughout I guess, second half of the season for the Badgers, shot selection and turnovers, 2 issues that kind of came up throughout majority part of the season, reared its ugly head Friday night, and there you have it. They're already done, one and done. I just keep going back to the word weird because, again, we didn't have a lot of expectations at the beginning of the season. Then they get up to number 6 in the country. It's like, dang, are they going to actually get like maybe a 1 seed, a 2 seed in this tournament? And then, I don't know. And I know there's a lot of talk, at least from fans, not necessarily from the Badger analysts or insiders, or if you will, but Greg Gard and some job security for him. So got a feeling there's probably some decent amount of Badgers fans that maybe would like to see a change out there. I personally don't think it's going to happen, but I do think they'll open up next season on the hot seat. Connor Esigian's already announced that he's going to enter the transfer portal. AJ Storr was non-committal of his future plans shortly after the game. So, both whether he's going to go to the NBA or transfer again or come back to Wisconsin. I hope he comes back, but nonetheless, that's the world we're living in right now with college sports. Do you transfer? Do you leave? Do you come back? It's I can't even imagine being a head coach or a coach within the college ranks right now with all this uncertainty. It's free agency after every single year, where everybody's a free agent. Really, when you kind of think about it, they're either a free agent or they're leaving to go to the draft, or they just can't play college hoops anymore because they're not, they don't have any more eligibility left at that point. So, but this was a good nugget here too. I saw Steve Pfeiffer. Greg Gard made the Sweet 16 his first 2 seasons as head coach after Bo Ryan left. So essentially, with Bo's guys, since he has had his own recruiting classes to coach, not a single Sweet 16 appearance. Buying that? Do you agree with that? I mean, I think it's something worth watching there. Although I would argue too that Greg Gard had a hand in those recruiting classes, was a lead recruiter. So I mean, he had a hand in that. But I get the point. I get it. So. All right, so we'll talk some college hoops. If you had to redo your bracket, which you can actually, you could partake in our we got another thing up on our website through the Fan Cave. So if you did the bracket challenge, just log into that and you're going to see another tab over there, and you're going to see something with the 16 bracket. Okay, so if you're out of it for the 64 bracket essentially, or you want to try to redo your Sweet 16, you could do so. Just go to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on that Fan Cave tab and go over there, and you'll see the tabs because it goes to the 64 bracket where everybody turned one in. But you'll see 16 bracket, then a 4 bracket, Final Four. So you can kind of redo a Sweet 16 one. So you can have a little fun with that one if you want to try to redo it and get some bragging rights. Or would you still call it bragging rights? I don't know. But we'll talk some college hoops throughout the morning here. Speaking of the Badgers, though, in college, Badger women's hockey team falling just a bit short yesterday of getting an 8th national championship. They fell 1-0 to the Buckeyes of Ohio State last night. So just a bit short of Mark Johnson and his program capturing another national championship over there. Nonetheless, another spectacular season for a program that is just oozing with talent and legacy, and I mean championships galore over there. So just another good season, although their expectations are national championships. So they may be feeling that they didn't hit their ultimate goal there, but nonetheless, that is a program that is in it year in and year out. Men's team, first year with the new coach, Mr. Head Coach Hastings over there. They're back in the tournament. They found out yesterday that they will be a 2 seed. They will face the defending champions, Quinnipiac, on Friday. But they're back in the NCAA tournament and coming in as a 2 seed. So, but what a first year for that Badger men's hockey program and Coach Mike Hastings. I mean, that hire by Chris McIntosh, the AD for the Badgers, looks like a home run so far. I mean, way to set the bar high right away. You want to talk about, so we were talking about Badger basketball expectations, like we didn't know what to expect. This year, a lot of people's like, we're probably, not expecting a whole lot for the Badger men's hockey team. And nope. They were listening to, because they went out and blew out all the expectations and surpassed everybody's thoughts on what this team was going to do this year. So hopefully they can make a deep run and maybe even bring you back a national championship for that Badger men's hockey team. What else do we got on the docket? The Bucks, big win last night against the top seeded Oklahoma City Thunder. Bucks picking up a nice win. Coming after having Friday and Saturday off. A couple day rest there. But T-Wolves probably saying thank you to the Bucks, maybe making things a little interesting since T-Wolves also won last night against the Warriors. But 118-93 victory for the Bucks. Middleton with a triple-double, 11 points, 11 assists, 11 rebounds. Giannis, his dominant self, 30 points, 19 rebounds. And this was a night, too, where Dame just a little bit off considering some of the stuff we've seen from him so far. But he had just 11 points, five assists, 6 rebounds. But Bobby Portis coming off the bench, putting up 15 for the Bucks. But the Bucks keeping a high-powered offensive team like the Oklahoma City Thunder under 100 points. The Thunder also just shooting 23.3% from three, 37.1% overall from the field. The Bucks were shooting 53.3% from the field. So the Bucks still in that second seed in the Eastern Conference, but actually have a little bit more of a gap right now because Cleveland, who's the third seed right now, is 3 games back after losing their last 3. Cleveland's just 3-7 in their last 10 games here. But the Bucks, a little bit more of breathing room. They still have 11 more games left to go for the regular season here. They'll be back at it tomorrow against the Lakers. But the Western Conference, I mean, this is shaping up to be a pretty darn fun race here between the top 3 teams. Denver's at the top spot. Oklahoma City Thunder's a half game back. The T-Wolves just a game back. But then you kind of look at that 6 seed in the Western Conference. Phoenix is holding on to it right now. Sacramento's a half game back. Dallas is a half game back from that. They don't want to probably be in that play-in tournament. They want to be somewhere in the top 6. So kind of had a little fun couple races in the Western Conference over there. But I know a lot of us, too, pay attention to both the Bucks and the Timberwolves. Timberwolves, their next game is going to be going up against the Pistons on the 27th, and then they got a big one against the Nuggets coming up on the 29th there. So we'll talk some NBA hoops as we're starting to wrap up this regular season. Baseball, we'll get to some Brewers chats. Opening days on Thursday. So we're getting closer to opening day, starting to maybe get a better idea of what the opening day roster is going to be. We saw Wade Miley get some work in a spring training game over the weekend too. So, but nonetheless, Brandon Woodruff, I don't think anybody's surprised. There was the news that came out this weekend not pitching at all this year. So I know there was some talk about from fans, could he still pitch if they made it to the postseason? Not coming back at all this year. Again, no big surprise out there, but we'll kind of go over the latest in terms of potential rosters or opening day rosters and maybe some final, position battles coming up here. We got one more spring training game on the radio dials today at 3:00. So just a couple more games, and then we got opening day on Thursday. Also, I want to throw a little football talk into this thing here too. You guys hear about this NFL kickoff rule proposal? Now, I know they've got owners meeting, or is it coaches and owners meetings? I saw the coach photo out there. But they got meetings going on in Florida right now. They got another one coming up in May. But there's this talk about altering the kickoff rule again, because last year there wasn't a ton of kickoff returns. Super Bowl, there was none. So now, what it seemed like a while ago, the NFL may be trying to eliminate it. Now they want to try to bring it back. And there is a very interesting, rather confusing proposal coming out here from some of the special teams coaches out there, special teams coordinators out there. I'll just kind of lightly touch on it here, give you a little bit to digest on it, and you let me know what your thoughts are. The biggest thing on this thing is a landing zone. Landing zone is the area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line. Okay? So landing zone, red zone. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone, it's treated like a kickoff out of bounds, and the ball is spotted at the 40 yard line. Play would be blown dead as soon as the kick lands short of the landing zone. Think about that. Puts a little bit more pressure on your kicker. You kind of have some elements to factor in, weather elements, that sort of stuff. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned. So any kick that's in the landing zone, 20 to the goal line, got to return it. Any kick that hits in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If downed, goes to 20. So if it hits in that landing zone, then rolls into the end zone, but you down it in the end zone, you get it at 20. If the kick hits in the end zone and you down it and stays in bounds and you down it, so catch it in the end zone, you down it, 35-yard line. Any kick that goes out of the back of the end zone, in the air or bounces, 35-yard line. Landing zone. All right. So what do you think of that? What do you think of that proposal out there? Kind of confusing, kind of out there, creative. Got to give them credit for that. My main thing here is like, wow, you're putting a lot more pressure on the kickers, especially like, what if you are in a outdoors elements game where the wind is just blowing and it's hard to get a kickoff? I mean, at that point, if you can't get it to the landing zone, I guess what's the biggest difference between, you're talking about 20 yards potentially, 15, 20 yards, but man, you leave it short of the landing zone. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone. So I read it that way, is like the bounce doesn't count. If it hits at the 21, even if it rolls, if it hits at the 21, it goes up to the 40. You know those pooch kicks we sometimes see teams do? You better be pretty darn accurate with that. I don't know. Maybe kickers like this because then they're like, all right, you want us to do this? Pay a raise for us then. But what are your thoughts on that? Take some time to digest that and hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. If you're not driving, 715-830-1912. All right, it is a weekend hangover too. So what was the highlights? What was the lowlights from the weekend, the highs and the lows? Let us know. Play along with us over there. Also, we'll get to an Are You Serious? Fun nugget stat and all that good stuff. Let's talk some college hoops to open up this morning, though. Badger basketball. I know a lot of Badgers fans are passionate and probably still upset about Friday night. Trying to keep the emotions aside, I know that's hard as fans. We can't really do that, but nonetheless, what do you think? Do you think major changes need to happen with this Badger basketball team? Do you think guard's going to come in next year and maybe be a little bit on the hot seat? What are your thoughts right now on this Badger basketball team? And let me throw, I guess, maybe kind of an informal poll question out there too. Which team do you think has a brighter future? Maybe for sustained success, immediate success? I guess better chances to win a national championship is Badger football or Badger basketball. Remember, the Big Ten's expanding. We got more teams coming to the conference and all that, tougher teams, especially on the football side. What do you think? All right, let me know. Let's take a break, and we'll be back to really deep dive into all this. See, we got a lot to hit up on. A lot to hit up on. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. I'm a creature of habit. See, one of the very first things I do every morning is brew some coffee, grab some coffee, not just ordinary coffee. It's got to be cabin coffee in Altoona. You see, cabin coffee in Altoona also locally roasts and packages coffee too, fresh and daily. I'm personally a big fan of the Giddy Up. Sometimes I'm in a hurry though, so I just pop on over to Cabin Coffee in the River Prairie District and grab myself a cup of Joe. Got a wide range of options to choose from that it's hard to just pick one sometimes. When it comes to my coffee, I need quality, not some brown flavored water, and you can get that at Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Again, quick reminder, there are a ton of school closings and such. So just head to sportstalk1051.com and get the entire list over there if you're looking on your desktop or laptop or anything like that. It's going to be on the right hand side there. The WEAU 13 News First Alert School Closings brought to you by Service Master of Chippewa Valley and Hovlands. Again, Eau Claire School District. If you're noticing, like, wow, Eau Claire's not in there. Spring break for some of the kiddos out there. I know my kid's on spring break right now too. So, all right, let's talk some college hoops to open up things this morning. Not to reopen a wound or anything from Friday night, late Friday night, with that loss to James Madison. But what kind of word or what word would you use or to describe this Badger basketball season? Like, I've been trying to think about this, and the only word that I can, and it's not very creative, but the only word I can come up with at this point is like weird. Like, I, like it's almost like an EKG with the ups and downs of this year too, where it was just like perplexing. Maybe I don't know because we opened up the year not sure what to expect from this team. Didn't really have high expectations. Obviously they weren't ranked top 25 in that, and then they started to win games and they started to creep in the top 25. And then you had Badger fans saying, "See, national peeps overlooking Badger basketball again. Overlooking the Badgers again." Then they win. They beat at that point Michigan State. Remember that 3-game stretch at the beginning of the year? They beat Michigan State. They beat Marquette, blown out by Arizona, but they take 2 out of 3 in those 3 games. And we were all like, all right, that's pretty darn good. And then they just continued to win and got as high as number 6 in the country. Heading into that week where it was it Nebraska? I believe it was Nebraska. And then you have Purdue. And then you're like, hey, by the end of the week, if they beat those 2 teams, especially Purdue, could we be talking about the Badgers being in the top 4 or maybe in a position to be in a 1 seed in the tournament? Well, looked like they were going to win against Nebraska. Then whatever happened in that second half completely derailed the season. They end up losing that game. They lose to Purdue. Then they lose a boatload of other games, including to lowly Michigan, and just come tumbling down. And they go into, the Big Ten Conference tournament as a 5 seed. Then they start to win a couple games, and then they beat Purdue in the conference tournament, probably move up from a 6 to a 5. That win moves them up from a 6 to a 5. Go toe-to-toe with Illinois, but can't close it out. But for the most part, Badgers fans being like, okay, feeling a little bit better. Feeling a little bit better about this team. They get a tough draw in the tournament. James Madison team that won 31 games, beat Michigan State at the beginning of the year, was a very popular pick to be that 5-12 upset. And lo and behold, Badgers kind of resorted back to their big bugaboos or issues that was plaguing them throughout the season. Shot selection, turnovers galore in this thing. I mean, it was like, oh, we're back to that from a month ago. So, one and done. The end of this Badger basketball season, this weird, this perplexing, this high and low, up and down Badger basketball season. Now it's filled with questions of the future of the program, the immediate future of the program. We know one thing that's going to happen. Connor Esigian's already put it out on social media. He's going to transfer. He's entering the transfer portal, which I don't think is a huge surprise. Let's be real. I mean, this was a player that is probably one of the biggest question marks from this season. Like, what happens? Last year you look at the minutes he's played and that, and you look at this year, could barely get on the court. Was it because of his defensive play and some injuries kind of derailing that? But I don't think it's that big of a surprise considering how his season went this year that he's entering the transfer portal. But because of the change in college sports, we kind of have to hold our breaths for some of the best players on this team. And I'm talking about AJ Storr. AJ Storr, pretty non-committal after the game about whether he would, one, be back with the Badgers, like whether it was going to the NBA or even going to the transfer portal. He was pretty non-committal on both sides. According, I was reading a little bit from Evan Flood from Badgers 24/7. And he said that after the game in the locker room, I don't know. I'm just still thinking about the loss and my teammates. Shout out Tyler Wall. He just played his last game in a Badger uniform, true legend for the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm frustrated. I didn't finish like I wanted to. And a good follow-up from 24/7. The two options next season were playing with the Badgers or entering the draft. And if he could potentially leave for another program, non-committal. He said, I don't really know right now. I'm just thinking about this loss right now. I love playing with these guys. Sad I won't get to play with T-Wall again. I just love playing with these guys. So, I mean, he's had nothing but positive stuff to say about the Badgers and his team, and I get it. Emotions are running high after a game. You're incredibly disappointed that your season's over with. That's the thing about sports. When you get into a postseason play and you lose that game, it's an immediate end to your season. There's no build up to it. It's just like, boom, you're done. You're done playing for the year. And then you got to answer all these questions minutes after that. So I get, he didn't really want to talk about his future and such. But given the current state of college athletics with transfer portals and all that, it's got Badger fans worrying. And I'm one of those too. Like, is he going to be back next year? Is he going to be back with the Badgers next year? If, he decides, hey, I'm not ready for the draft, potentially could get a little bit better. Is he going to stay with the Badgers to do that? Or is he going to go to his third team in 3 years? Or he's a St. John's transfer. I hope the kid's back. I really do. I want to see him paired up with Blackwell and such. But that's the thing is even everybody on this team, if you're not, a guy like Tyler Waller or a graduating senior or a guy who's out of eligibility, you're holding your breath for everybody. Well, maybe for some Badger fans, they'd like to see some players maybe transfer or leave, but you get what I'm getting at here, that your best players, you're just kind of holding your breath that they don't decide to hit the transfer portal and go somewhere else. It's free agency after every single year in college sports. Every single year, it's free agency. Even with your current players, you're trying to do a free agency pitch to them to stay, to kind of quote re-sign, re-up with your team. I don't think I'd want to be a college coach right now in this day and age with this, kind of in the back of your mind, dudes, some of these guys, gals, they could leave after a year and go to a different team. It's free agency after every single. It's like all of these players essentially have 1-year deals. To kind of put it in a pro perspective, they all got 1-year deals. You're playing on a year-to-year basis. I mean, you can't. Can you even really build a program these days? Like the old school Badgers, if you will, under Bo Ryan, can you build a program these days? I don't know if you can. I think it needs that you got to find those players that are going to be committed to stay in the program for a few years. And I think those are becoming few far in between. It's a year-by-year basis. So I don't know what the plan is gonna be for the Badgers this offseason. I know they've got some recruits coming in that are highly thought of in that, but on the Greg Gard front, there's a lot of Badgers fans. I don't know if it's a 50-50 split or if it's a majority or slightly under the majority over there, but there's a good chunk of Badgers fans that maybe want to see a change at their head coaching position. I don't personally think that's going to happen at this point in time in the game. But I do think it's reasonable to expect that Greg Gard's probably going to enter next year on a hot seat, a little bit of a hot seat. And I base that opinion based off of what we've seen from Chris McIntosh in his first few years as the athletic director in Wisconsin. He's got huge goals and huge aspirations for his athletics department, for his teams. He wants to take it up a notch. It's not just necessarily competing for Big Ten championships. He fully believes and he fully expects and he fully wants his teams to compete for national championships. And let's be real, it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder in football and it's going to get harder in basketball now with the Big Ten Conference expanding. Oregon, USC, UCLA, those teams coming on over. It's going to be incredibly hard for these Badgers teams especially on basketball, the way they're currently maybe constructed. They got to change the way maybe they do business a bit. It's going to get tougher to come out of that conference. Now, maybe because it'll be a tougher conference, that'll benefit them. It'll kind of force the hand to adjust, to be better, because you have to be. I think that's what a lot of fans are hoping for and expecting, but I feel like Gard's going to go into next year with a lot to kind of prove. To show McIntosh, like, hey, we can win here. We can win at Wisconsin. There's going to be doubters. There's a lot of doubters right now that this team can win. Win at a high level, like winning a national championship or competing, getting back to a Sweet 16, an Elite 8, a Final Four. There's a lot of doubters out there right now. And I personally think McIntosh is going to give him another shot, going to open up the year with Greg Gard. But a little bit under the hot seat. Because I think you just look at football, men's hockey, and you look at the quick turnaround of the hockey team for the men's side. First year, already back at the tournament on a year that was supposed to be, all right, lower expectations, getting a new coaching staff in. They blew that out of the water. Football was a little underwhelming, but I think there's still excitement with Luke Fickell and such. So, I mean, when you make bold moves like that, when you bring in coaches like Luke Fickell and Hastings, it puts everybody else, I know maybe besides Mark Johnson and Kelly Sheffield at volleyball, because all they do is make deep runs in the national tournament and win national championships. But it put a lot of other programs on notice, and I think right now that Badger men's basketball team that's going to be a big offseason for them. Hitting the transfer portal. Can they get more guys coming in? Because I honestly feel like now, college basketball especially, it's a year-by-year thing. I don't think you can – if you got an incredibly talented freshman, a talented freshman that's ready to play now, I don't think you can hide them on the bench and redshirt them anymore. You might have to play them right away just so they stay around. So that's what I feel like is going to be the plan or the mindset right now. I mean, you've got teams already. Michigan's got a new head coach, and West Virginia's already got a new head coach. You're kind of looking out there. Well, who would be some other options and such, and that's the thing. Like, who would be that person that Wisconsin would bring in? It's not going to be Lamont anymore. He just re-upped at South Carolina for a nice big deal. I don't think Tony Bennett is probably the number one target for a lot of Badgers fans anymore. I mean, there's questions surrounding that style of play and that program too. And that's just a few years from a national championship. So I'll be honest, I don't off the top of my head, I don't know of a I mean, you'd probably be looking at some D1s, maybe some mid conference teams, mid that sort of thing. But yeah, ultimately, I think Guard's going to get another shot. But it's a big offseason, a big upcoming next year for Coach Guard. And let's be real, I hope he succeeds. We want our coaches to succeed because that means our teams are winning. So I hope they figure things out, and I hope they have a really, really good year next year. Let's take a quick break. We'll wrap up the first hour after these quick words. Maybe with all this snow shoveling that you have to do this morning or some point today. By the way, if anybody wants to volunteer to do my driveway before I get home, you'd be my new best friend. But maybe with the snow shoveling that you're having to do this morning is a good reminder that, man, I got to go in and, get my shoulder figured out or get my knee figured out. Hey, you got to take care of yourself too. So are you tired of those aches and pains that you have been holding off on getting checked out? Don't put it off any longer. Reduce your pain and enjoy the ease of your daily activities with the help from Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine are your leaders in orthopedic, brain, and spine care. So whether you're an athlete or you just have an aching joint, they can help you. Just visit cvosm.com to get started. And don't forget, whenever we talk to Dr. Crow for our Inside the Training Room segments every Friday morning, that is now available on the Man Cave podcast in a separate segment over there too. So you can check those out every Friday. We have Dr. Crow up there. And if you haven't listened to the latest one, we uploaded a few of them on Friday. But Brandon Berg and myself did our baseball preview. That's up there. Plus some other Brewers predictions and picks and that good stuff over there too. So you can check it out again on the latest episode of the Man Cave podcast, brought to you by Hy-Vee and our good friends at Toyson Ford. There's a good article too from Ben Kenny, BadgersWire.usatoday.com. Reasons for and reasons against bringing back Greg Gard for the Badger basketball team. Not going to go through every write-up, but I'll go through the fors and against. For, postseason failure. Against, regular season success. To which I know the counter to that or the thought to that from a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's all about postseason success. And you'd be right. I would agree with you. Also have to get to the postseason in college basketball by having a good regular season. So, for, the combination of recruiting and development hasn't been good enough. I'd agree with that. Against, the team returns a wealth of talent for 2024 to 25. That's assuming everybody comes back. I know Chucky's probably coming back, but to me, the big ones out there is AJ Storr and John Blackwell. If they come back, yes, you got some talent coming back. 4, the team lacks a peak season. There are a lot of good from the Badgers, but not great. It doesn't feel as if the program can produce a core like that 14 to 15 team had. Therefore, it's hard to see this team actually contending for a Final Four trip in a national title. Against, March Madness is a high variance event. Agree with that. 4, is the program set up well for the next 10 years? It's kind of a big unknown. Against, something we were talking about a little bit earlier. Who's the replacement? Says Ben mentions Tony Bennett. Probably wouldn't leave Virginia. Plus, as he says, is an all-time NCAA tournament underachiever minus the one season when they won a national championship. TJ Otzelberger is in a great spot at Iowa State. That, I think, would be the dream hire for a lot of Badgers fans, is to get TJ away from Iowa State. He played college ball at Whitewater. He was born in Milwaukee, so he's a Wisconsin kid. I should say kid. Wisconsin guy. But right now, I mean, Iowa State's in the Sweet 16. They were thought that could be a 1 seed in the tournament. So, I mean, would he leave that position at Iowa State? Would he view Wisconsin potentially as an upgrade? I don't know. I really don't know right now. Maybe, but who knows? But he's in a good spot right now. I think that would be the dream hire, but I wouldn't count on your eggs on that happening. Against, basketball is different than football. I guess he says here, this isn't a real reason, more of a pushback on some of the commentary surrounding the situation. Basketball isn't football. Paul Chryst and Greg Gard's situations are entirely different, just like the shape of the ball in each sport. So the two cannot be compared when making an argument either way. So your thoughts, you can continue to send them on over to our Shoe Doctors bullpen texting line if you're not driving, okay? If you're not driving. 715-830-1912. Also, don't forget to send me your weekend hangovers, the highs and the lows from the weekend, your picks, and then we'll get to those throughout the morning here. So coming up next hour, I do want to talk a little bit about this NFL kickoff rule proposal. If you missed it earlier, I kind of went through the potential new things that they would be adding, including this landing zone. I'll go through it again coming up next hour, but we've got league meetings going on right now, and there's coaches talking right now to the media and such. I think it's the AFC coaches breakfast. It looks like. I don't know if maybe the NFC is tomorrow, so maybe we'll hear from Matt LaFleur. But I'm seeing a lot of quotes from AFC coaches right now. So, but nonetheless, once I go through this again, I want to get your thoughts on this potential new kickoff rule. Is it too gimmicky? Do you like it? Do you like the creativity on it? What are your thoughts? So if you missed it, you got some time to look it up, but I'll go through it again. I'll go through the proposal here with you just past the top of the hour here. Also, I want to get to some Bucks talk with a big win last night against the Thunder. We just got 11 more games left for this Bucks team. Got the Lakers at home tomorrow, on the road against New Orleans, and then Atlanta and Washington. Then you're back home for the Bucks for 5 straight games. Memphis, Toronto, the Knicks, Boston, Orlando. Then you finish up on the road, OKC and Orlando. Right now, Bucks have a little bit bigger of a cushion. Not much. Not much where you can get too complacent, but they're up 2 games over Cleveland between that 2 and 3 spots, 2 and 3 seed in the Eastern Conference here. So, but we'll talk some Bucks coming up here. Middleton with a triple double last night, 11 points, 10 boards, 10 assists. So we'll talk that. Also, we'll talk some baseball as we get closer to opening day on Thursday for the Brewers. So a little bit more about who potentially could be on this opening day roster. We've got an opening day prediction lineup from MLB.com. A little bit kind of interesting. A couple picks over there. Again, it's just one game for a lineup, but it is opening day. So, we got 161 more games after that. But nonetheless, Wade Miley did get a start in over the weekend. It was delayed a couple days. Did get a start in. So trending towards some good stuff, but he won't. He's not going to be getting a second start of the season or anything like that. So he's probably going to miss a turn or two into the rotation. We'll begin the season on the injured list. So, but we'll talk some baseball as we are just a few days away from opening day. Brewers yesterday putting up 14 runs against the Diamondbacks, 14-4 against the Diamondbacks. They got another game today. That's actually going to be on the radio dials, 105.1 FM at 7:90 a.m. Later on this afternoon. But DL Hall yesterday, 5 earned runs, 4 Ks, no walks. There was another pitcher for the Crew that looked pretty darn good, and maybe his final tune-up or one of his final tune-ups for the season. It's a guy that we haven't talked a whole lot about. There hasn't been a whole lot of talk about him. That's Joe Ross. He had himself a decent start on Saturday against the Cubbies as well. So maybe kind of keep an eye out for him. I should say he came in for Miley afterwards, but he threw 5 innings, 8 Ks, 1 earned run, 2 hits. Joe Ross looked pretty darn good. Bubble wrap that. All right, 1 hour in. We got a couple more to go. We'll be back after these news updates. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning, a weekend hangover Monday morning. Hey, first off, shout out to all the snow shovelers, plowers out there. It's driving in at 3 something this morning. And so a lot of you working on, I don't know if anybody's listening right now who is plowing snow or anything like that, but it's a lot of you out there already in the early hours taking care of some of the parking lots and some of the roads and such. So big shout out, and the city and highway ones out there. So big shout out to all of you. Again, if you're listening, I don't know if any of you are or not, but shout out to all of you. And then everybody else who has to hit the road out there, be safe, drive safe. I know we got a lot of school closings here this morning, so you can. It's a huge list. If you got a minute, you can head to sportstalk1051.com and check out the entire listings over there. Again, if you're looking on your laptop or like your desktop, it's going to be on the right hand side. The WEAU 13 News First Alert School Closings brought to you by Service Master of Chippewa Valley and Hovlands. So, all right. Coming up this hour, well, we spent the last hour talking college hoops, the Badger basketball team and such. We know Badger men's hockey team found out yesterday they made the NCAA tournament. They're going to be a 2 seed. They'll be back in action on Friday. The women's team falling just a bit short from capturing their 8th national championship, falling to Ohio State's last night 1-0. So we'll get back to some college hoops and some Badger chats a little bit later on. I want to talk some Bucks coming up here in a little bit. Bucks with a big time win last night against the Clippers. Just 11 more games left to go. We've got Bucks who are in that 2 seed by 2 games over Cleveland right now. So off night tonight. Then they got the Lakers before heading out on the road for 3 games before returning home for 5 straight games. And then just 2 more on the road and boom, we're in the postseason. That quick. We're going to talk some baseball as well, as we are just a few days away from the Brewers from the Brewers opening day on Thursday against the Mets. Joe Ross looked pretty good the other day. Wade Miley got some action in. So it kind of seems like we're starting to get a good idea of that opening day roster, what it's going to look like, who's made it, and that sort of stuff. I saw MLB.com, and it's just one game, but it is opening day. Had a prediction of what the opening day lineup would look like. Kind of a couple interesting notes on there too. So we'll have a little fun with that and take a look at that a little bit later on here. We've got owners meetings going on in the NFL right now in Florida. We've got some coaches. It looks like the AFC coaches for their breakfast is talking a little bit with the media. Just looking at I've been kind of scrolling through here a little bit with some of the reporters who are there and who are tweeting out some of the quotes from there. I don't know. Maybe I might be falling into that smoke screen there. I might be falling into it a little bit, but I got to tell you, I think this draft might have a lot of movement for some trade ups. We're 1 month away from today, 1 month away from the first round of the NFL draft. And you got Sean Payton. He may be looking for a quarterback. He used the word realistic about when he was answering a question about how realistic it would be for the the Broncos to move up in a draft. Yeah, this was from Ian Rappaport. Here at the AFC Coaches Breakfast, I asked Sean Payton how realistic it was for him to be a potential trade-up team. Realistic was his answer. We know they're looking for a quarterback. I mean, if you're the Cardinals right now, at number 4, you got to be feeling pretty good. Jared Mayo, the head coach for the Patriots, said they're open for business, but they're also open for drafting. So, yeah, you said here, we're open to trading the pick. We're open to taking the guy there. The Patriots look at this thing and be like, okay, we know we could get a lot in return right now. We know we could get a lot. We got a lot of needs. We got a lot of holes. Do we bypass a quarterback this year? Does come with a little bit of risk too. Let's not kid ourselves. It does come with a little bit of risk at that point. But man, I feel like we may get, if you're a team that like the Patriots or like the Cardinals right now, especially maybe a team like the Cardinals, boy, you might be getting a lot in return for that 4th overall pick. And as Jim Harbaugh said in one of his quotes from this morning, he's kind of paraphrasing. He said, but everybody's expecting 4 quarterbacks to go in the first 4 picks, which means the draft kind of essentially starts at where they're at number 5. She's right. He's absolutely right. More quarterbacks, the better for a team like Green Bay. Push everybody down just a couple more spots, potentially, for them to pick at that spot. But one of the big topics out there, Andy Reid apparently is in favor of this. He was asked about it this morning. He is in favor of this. That's one coach out there that I've seen so far. I'm sure there's a couple more. But this new NFL kickoff rule proposal, okay? I'm not going to go through all of the other stuff like the alignments and stuff like that. The big thing I want to talk about is this landing zone that they're proposing out there. Now it's kind of complicated. I know Pro Football Talk was kind of saying out there that might not get approved at this meeting, but potentially the one in May, because it is a little confusing and there's a lot of stuff to kind of digest with it. But here it is. If you missed me breaking it down a little bit in the first hour, again, this is from the NFL.com website, operations.nfl.com, if you want to kind of take a look at everything. But this landing zone. So the landing zone is the area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line. So essentially the red zone. Okay? Red zone, landing zone. Goal line to the 20-yard line. Now that we got that established, here we go. You ready for this? Any kick that hits short of the landing zone, so like the 21, the 22, 23, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that kick is treated like a kick that's out of bounds, and the ball will be spotted at the 40-yard line. Play would be blown dead as soon as the kick lands short of the landing zone. Think about that. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone is treated like a kickoff out of bounds, and the ball spotted at the 40-yard line. Play would be blown dead as soon as the kick lands short of the landing zone. Any kick that hits in the landing zone, must be returned. So that 0 to 20 has to be returned. Any kick that hits in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or downed by the receiving team. If downed, then the ball goes to the 20, not the 25, the 20. So any kick that hits in the landing zone and then it rolls into the end zone, it'll either be downed and you get it at the 20, or you have to return it. A kick hits in the end zone, stays in bounds. So it hits in the end zone, stays in bounds, doesn't go out in the back of the end zone. Has to be returned or downed. If it is downed, you go all the way up to the 35. So not the 20, not the 25, not the 30, the 35-yard line. Any kick that goes out of the back of the end zone in the air or on a bounce, you're up to the 35. So they're really highlighting teams, kickers specifically, at getting this kick into that landing zone. The accuracy there. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Now, there is still onside kicks. Onside kick. Here's a little bit on here. Fourth quarter begins. The team trailing has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the officials. Current onside kickoff rules would apply. If an onside kick goes beyond the setup zone untouched, kicking team penalized for, like normal, return team would start to drive at the at the 20-yard line. Same stuff over there too. So this landing zone, I want to focus on the landing zone a part of this. What do you think of this? I mean, this kickoff thing has been an issue, a talking point, a thing that the NFL has tried to adjust, change, adapt, whatever we want to say, over the last few years. Where it seemed like at one point, not that long ago, that they were trying to get rid of the kickoff. It seemed like that's what they were trying to do, right? Like, it's like at this point, it's like, okay, just start the drive at the 20, the 25 or whatever. But now they didn't have hardly any kick returns last year. They didn't have any in the Super Bowl. And it's like, nope, we got to bring it back. It's boring. We need more excitement. So they're trying to get more returns in the game. They want that back. They want it back. So this puts a lot more pressure on kickers to be accurate. You know, you factor in weather elements, wind and that, it could have an effect on a kickoff now. This would kind of resemble the XFL kickoffs from 2020, 2023 seasons to increase the number of returns while trying to decrease injuries by minimizing some, those high speed collisions. So, reading a little bit more here too, if this approval passes, kickers would still kick from the 35-yard line, with the other 10 players on the team starting at the opposing 40-yard line. One or two returners can be in the landing zone from the goal line in the 20-yard from the goal line to the 20-yard, while the other players on the return team would be in the quote setup zone between the 30 and the 35-yard lines. Only the kicker and returners can move until the ball hits the ground or is touched. Yeah. There's no longer can no longer be surprise onside kicks. And teams will have to inform officials if they plan on running one. A lot. There's a lot going on here. Right? That's they're officials, they got to figure this out. You're completely kind of changing your whole special teams operations. Now you're okay. We it kind of increases the need to make sure you go get a kick returner now. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff here, and I'm sure I missed a couple of other things here. But what are your thoughts on this? Landing zone, no surprise onside kicks. What are your thoughts? Is it too gimmicky? Do you like the creativity of it? I like the fact that they're trying to get returns more involved in the game. I like the fact that they're doing this. And I understand you've got to make the game safer. You're looking out for the players. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But the one thing that I don't like about when it comes to sport, not just the football, but other sports, when it gets really complicating, where it just like it's where you don't understand exactly what's going on. And I get that's the need, that's why you have the Gene Sterators, the Mike Pereiras, these officials coming on and explaining, the rulings and that. But I think when you get to a point where it's so complicated, like the perfect example is pass interference. We don't know what the hell pass interference is anymore, or we don't know what the heck a catch is anymore. It's gotten so they've adjusted it so many times to where we're all kind of confused, like, what in the heck is a catch now? So there's a lot of different stuff going on here in terms of like landing zones and starting off like, it's not as simple anymore as like, oh, touchback, okay, at the 20. Now you got a couple different things that could be, well, it could be the 20, could be the 35, or it could be the 40. So we're going to have to adjust to it. It's going to have to, we're going to have to get used to it. I think this is going to pass. I think 24 out of 32 teams have to vote in favor of this. Sounds like the special teams coordinators, they're the ones who are presenting it. They're in favor of it. Coaches are in favor of it. But it's going to be, I think, confusing for us fans watching these games early on, kind of getting adjusted to it. But I like the fact that they're trying to incorporate more returns in this game. I didn't like the fact a few years ago when they were trying to really limit the returns. I hated that. I mean, at that point in time, you might as well just started the game at the 25, 20-yard line, and then you only have kickers in for extra points and field goals. This makes the kicker a little bit more important. It adds a little bit more to the kicking game. You can't just maybe go get a kicker just to bring him in for, okay, your only job is to, work on your field goals and extra points. And it's a big one. Obviously, Packers fans, you know this. We know this from Anders last year. But it puts a little bit more on their shoulders now, too. You can't just maybe, we'll just pick up somebody off the street to go kick for us this weekend. Puts a little bit more pressure on their shoulders. And I like that. I like it. And I like the fact that we're trying to get back to returns. Is it a little gimmicky? Yeah, it's probably a little gimmicky. And I'm not always in favor of gimmicky stuff. But if the ultimate end result in this is that we get more returns and we potentially get some big plays in the return game, I'm for it. I want to get back to that. I want to get back to the Desmond Howards, the Dante Halls, the Devin Hesters. I mean, if we're putting Devin Hester in the Pro Football Hall of Fame because of his return ability, and now we have a game that we're not having any returns, what are we doing? And maybe I'm a little biased, too, because Green Bay's got Keyshawn Nixon, who has shown that he's a pretty good returner, too. Completely can change the tide of a game. All right, let's take a quick break. Let's talk some Bucks and Brewers. A few days away from opening day. We'll hit that up, plus a big win for the Bucks last night. We'll recap that. Spring cleaning, an annual tradition we all kind of hate, kind of dread. When I think of spring cleaning, I'm thinking of dusting, washing the windows, mopping some of the floors, dreading looking under Hudson's bed. Let's have a little fun this year with spring cleaning, though. Let's really leave our mark on it. It's time to get some new floors for this spring from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. See, the way I look at it, let's go big, baby. Let's replace that carpet in your living room so you don't have to hide those spill stains with all those fake plants, or update that kitchen floor with a completely new floor, because let's just be real. That kitchen floor of yours is probably really out of style. It's time, people. Just head on over to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire and check out all the different options of flooring that are out there. The Carpet City Flooring Center will work with you to set up the install of your new floors, and boom, spring cleaning is in the books. You really want to make your home feel clean this spring? Spring on in to Carpet City Flooring Center and look at getting a new floor for your home to make your home look even more amazing. Let's talk some Bucks to recap a big win last night for your second place Milwaukee Bucks in the Eastern Conference. Here's your first of all, here's your "Are you serious?" little nuggets for this Monday morning. The Monday morning "Are you serious?" nugget. This was the first time. I didn't think it was this long, but this is the first time since February 3rd that the Bucks, says here that from ESPN, this marked the first time since the February 3rd victory at Dallas that the Bucks had Giannis, Middleton, and Dame on the floor for the same game. It was also the first time since January 31st that they had their preferred starting lineup of Giannis, Dame, Middleton, Brook, and Malik Beasley. That's according to ESPN. That's an RD series. We're at the end of March. We're at the end of March here, and we finally got this preferred starting lineup, the main starting lineup, your number one starting lineup. Last night's game, I think you got to start when you look at it, and I know Middleton got the triple-double, 11 points, 10 boards, 10 assists. Giannis was, unbelievable again last night with his 30 points, 19 rebounds. The man shot 13 of 18 from the field. Highly efficient. He had 8 offensive boards alone. This was probably one of the best, and I know you could probably make the case that it was the best, but easily one of the best defensive performances from the Bucks this season. Easily. They came out in that second half, especially in the third quarter there, and just clamped it down on the defensive end. They were just flying around. They looked like they had more energy, more enthusiasm. They held one of the better offensive teams in the league to just 17 points in the third quarter, outscoring them 34-17. Alexander was held to just 12 points for OKC. 12 points. That's it. 5 of 12 from the field. 0 for 3 from 3, and the guy played 30 minutes. This is one of the better players in the entire league, a guy who's third in scoring, averaging 30.5 per game. And the Bucks held him points. Heck, you're looking at some of his, I've got his scoring logs. The last time he didn't reach at least 20 points in a game, you got to go back. And I'm scrolling. January 16th against the Clippers when he had 19 points. Is that his lowest scoring out? He had 17 on December 2nd against Dallas. And that might be his. Okay, he had 7 against Denver back on October 29th. So his second lowest scoring output of the season. Easily one of the best defensive performances from the Bucks last night. In a game going up against one of the top teams in the Western Conference, a team that's battling for that number 1 seed. Dame played 33 minutes, wasn't his, I mean, he didn't put up a boatload of points like we've been, seeing a few times lately. Just 11 points for Dame time, 4 of 12 overall from the field. But you got some nice bench production too. Pat Connaughton, 19 minutes, 11 points. Bobby Portis, 28 minutes, 15 points. Jay Crowder came off the bench, 10 points. Brook Lopez helping out, 14 points. I mean, outside of Giannis just kind of taking control, you had a lot of contributions. No big time contributions. It wasn't like a two-person race to lead the Bucks to victory last night. I think everybody contributed in their own way. Middleton, this is a role I like to see from Middleton here now too. A guy who is not only, a scoring threat, and before this game, in his 2 games back against Phoenix and Boston, the man put out there 22 points. But these last 3 games from Chris Middleton, we've been seeing him become more of a distributor. His last 3 games since coming back, 7 assists, 6 assists, and then last night, 10 assists. I like this role that we are seeing from Chris Middleton. This third option, but he's distributing a little bit more. Kind of being a facilitator. And, throughout his career, he's averaged 3.9 assists per season. But this is the type of role I like to see from Middleton right now. You're not counting on him to go out there and score 30 points. If he does, great, awesome. But this third option role behind Giannis, behind Dame, but a guy that's kind of getting everybody set, getting everybody involved over here too. Now I just hope this entire team can stay healthy. Because if this entire team is healthy and this is the type of performance we get, I know I'm putting a lot into just one game from last night. But since this was the first time we've seen these guys, this preferred starting lineup since January, the big 3 since February, this is what we want to see when it comes to the postseason, when it comes to playoff time coming up here. That was a good win last night by the Bucks. It was a fantastic win by the Bucks last night. And I know Giannis, at least from some people, are getting talked about as a MVP candidate. I don't know if he'll win. I'll look at the odds, where he's at right now at this point in time. But I know there's been some talk about him. And you look at, 30 points and shooting over 70% from the field. He's second in the league in scoring. He's 6th in rebounds. 30.7 points per game. 11.3 rebounds per game. 6.4 assists per game. That's top 15. He's top 10 in field goal percentage. This is a guy, too, who is just playing incredibly well as of late. Really good. In the month of March, he is averaging 31.3 points per game, 6.8 assists per game, 12 rebounds per game. Heck, the man is even shooting 70.8% from the charity stripe. And he's shooting 60.7% from the field. In fact, his field goal percentage is actually a little bit down this month. He was 65.5 in February. But he's playing some really good hoops right now. Fantastic hoops right now. His rebounds are up from the previous month. This is a guy that, let's just keep it bubble wrapped here a little bit though too. I know he's gone through some hamstring stuff and some tendonitis and that Achilles, but he's on fire right now. He's playing really well. I think, with Dame and him now being on the same page, we're starting to see more of that pick and roll action. Middleton's coming back, being a little bit more of a distributor, facilitator, third option over there. It's starting, again, to quote the great Lou Brown from Major League, maybe it's just starting to come together, Pepper. Starting to come together. 11 more games left in this regular season. They got the Lakers coming up tomorrow. They hit the road here for a little bit against the Pelicans in Atlanta and Washington. then 5 straight at home where they have been really good. You got Memphis, you got Toronto, you got the Knicks, Boston, and Orlando. That Boston-Orlando back-to-back in that second week in April, that's gonna be interesting to see how they play that, and then they got OKC again, and then Orlando after that on the road. But maybe, depending on how everything goes, they'll have a 2 seed locked up at that point. Might be wishful thinking there. But when you got a Boston-Orlando back-to-back, might be a case where Middleton doesn't play in one of those, or some of those guys don't play in that. Which one do they view as maybe a little bit more important at that point? Boston may not be full effort in there. Orlando's probably still going to be playing for some positioning there. So we still got some things, even though with just 11 games left to go here, a lot to still be played for. Get that 2 seed. Hopefully they get it earlier rather than later, where they can, last couple games of the regular season, maybe rest some of your guys like a Giannis, like a Dame who's played a ton of minutes. Middleton over there too. But last night's win against OKC, that was big. That was a nice win. And I think one of their best defensive performances all season long, if not the best defensive performance they've had. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll wrap up the second hour. Let's talk some baseball. Brewers, a few days away from opening day. They had a couple good pitching performances over the weekend, too. Speaking of bubble wrap some of those guys. We'll tell you who coming up after these quick break. Are you looking to get your name out in the public eye more? Do you need some apparel, drinkware, or maybe some signage done? Whatever marketing materials you may be looking for, Resonance Branding Company has a wide range of items to help make your brand stand out from the competition. All your branding needs in one convenient place. Resonance is here to save you time, money, and headaches. They can also set you up with an online store to sell your items as well. So let me simply ask you, does your brand resonate? Resonance Branding Company, the official swag provider for the program and the Man Cave podcast. Want to check out a couple items? We got an online store up there. Just text the word swag at 715-830-1912, and a link will be sent to you too. So you can check out some of the swag from Resonance Branding Company. If you're watching the video stream, I'm wearing one of the shirts right now, actually. So there you go. There you have it. Opening day party get together coming up on Thursday at our good friends from Hy-Vee. Gonna have some food and such over there. I was talking with the folks on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? Saturday when I was over there doing some shopping. Ran into the good peeps over there. So getting ready for opening day on Thursday. But if you got some time, maybe you're looking for an extended lunch period, or maybe you got the day off or anything like that, stop on by at Hy-Vee. Be around 11:30 for our opening day party. I know the Brewers will begin at about 12:10, 12:15 around there. First pitch going up against the Mets. So, but got a couple more games on the spring training schedule here for the crew. Got a game this afternoon against the Rockies. You're going to be able to hear that on the radio dials of 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Colin Ray, another final tune-up for him. Then another game on tomorrow against the Rockies, and then we got opening day. Aaron Ashby's going to get that one for tomorrow. But a couple of pitchers of note from this past weekend here for the crew. So we got Wade Miley. Wade Miley got some action in just on Saturday. He pitched 2 innings, gave up 1 hit, couple strikeouts there. But Joe Ross came in, and if you care about this stuff, did pick up the win. It was a spring training game. But Joe Ross came in, pitched 5 innings, gave up 2 hits, just 1 earned run, 1 walk, struck out 8. Joe Ross is a guy that we haven't talked a whole lot about. We haven't heard a ton about this spring training. He's a guy that is a buy low, low risk type of signing that was made a few months ago. That's like, oh yeah, that's a Brewer signing there. Guy hasn't pitched at the major league levels here for a couple of years. You know, last we saw him was in 2021 with Washington. Brewers bringing him in. Maybe, you know, just kind of like fill in sort of thing after losing Corbin Burns or trading Corbin Burns. They had him in before Corbin Burns, but, you know, Brandon Woodruff, they know wasn't going to be pitching this year. So they bring him in. Low risk. But right now, I mean, after coming off of that game, as our good friend Dominic, who hosts the Brewers postgame show on the Brewers Radio Network, said, bubble wrap this kid, or bubble wrap this guy. I guess we can't call him a kid, but bubble wrap him and get him ready for the regular season. Fantastic performance from him coming off or from this past weekend. Now, is that what we should expect from him in the regular season? I hope so. Odds are probably not going to happen. But dude looked good in that tune-up. Looked really good. It's good to see Wade Miley get some spring training action. He's going to begin the season on the injured list, though, it sounds like. He's going to at least miss the first turn through the rotation, maybe a couple turns through the rotation here. DL Hall also got another start. 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 4. Sure seems like this youngster is going to be part of this starting rotation too. So, I mean, if we factor out Wade Miley, he will be in it at some point. But if we factor out Wade Miley, it seems like the rotation's probably going to be Freddie, Colin Ray, Joe Ross, DL Hall. Maybe they kind of piggyback some stuff with Ashby and that, but and then, you know, Wade Miley will come back when he's ready to come back here. Major League or MLB.com did their 2024 projected opening day lineups. Now, we know This is just one game out of 162, but it's opening day, right? It's opening day. Little extra flair, a little bit of excitement. Guys want to be a part of the opening day roster, want to be a part of the opening day lineup. And while we know most part, a lot of these guys who are going to be on that opening day roster, we may not necessarily know how that first game, what that lineup card is going to look like. Well, MLB.com tried their best to put it together, and this is what they got for the Brewers. Batting in the leadoff, Garrett Mitchell playing center field. Number 2, William Contreras. Number 3, Christian Yelich playing in left field. Batting cleanup, Rhys Hoskins, first base. Willie Adames batting 5th. Sal Frelick they got here playing right field, batting 6th. Jackson Cheerio DHing in his first game, batting 7th. Joey Ortiz getting the start at 3rd. Bryce Terang then playing second base. Cheerio is in line to become the youngest Brewer to debut on opening day since Robin Young. It says here, too, it's just a matter of how Milwaukee wants to set up the lineup to attack lefty Jose Quintana, who has had a ton of experience going up against the Brewers, as we know. This time with the Cubs, mostly Cardinals and Pirates also on there, too. So we're just a few days away here. Again, I think the Sal Frelick one there, Joey Ortiz, how much playing time is Sal Frelick going to get at third base? Is it going to be an even split between him and Ortiz? Andrew Monasterio, how does he fit into this equation? Jackson Cheerio, would he debut as a DH, maybe to get the butterflies out of there? I don't know. We'll see what we'll find out, I guess, in a couple days, right? We'll find out then. But we're getting a little bit closer. We're getting a little bit closer, and I feel like we pretty much know how the majority of this team is going to look like, right? We know the majority. There's a couple of maybe depth positions up in the air at this point in time. Do they keep the 3 catchers? Do they try to find a trade partner or Eric Haas? I think that's probably one of the bigger questions right now because Eric Haas has been lighting it up in spring training. Is he forcing the crew to carry 3 catchers, at least to begin the season? Maybe. Brewers have done that with first baseman. That's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Again, it is opening day. It's not a set lineup for the rest of the season. Odds are it probably will change after the first game, first couple of games. We've seen that how many times when it's come to the Brewers here. Starting to get a little bit more excited about opening day? A little bit? Or are you still kind of down on the Brewers season and such? I know we'll get to some more predictions when we get to opening day and that, but Brandon and I, we did our baseball preview on the latest episode of the podcast. If you want to check that out, if you haven't checked it out till a little bit later on, we made our division picks. Then we did some Brewers picks, who would lead the team in home runs, wins, maybe most disappointing player. I think, most disappointing players on there, biggest surprise, all that fun stuff, all-stars. We made a bunch of Brewers predictions on there too. So Brandon and I were kind of opposite in our Brewers predictions team-wise, win-wise. We were the opposite. We were the opposite. One of us had them as a playoff team. The other one had them finishing under 500. So you'll have to listen to that episode a little bit later on. The Man Cave podcast available wherever you listen to your podcasts. But all right, coming up next hour, let's do a little weekend hangover, the highs and the lows from the weekend. You can play along with us by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. We'll get to some highs and some lows coming up here in just a little bit. We'll get back to some college hoops talk. How's your brackets looking? Anybody looking pretty good right now with their bracket challenge? Anybody feeling pretty confident with their brackets? You in a good spot right now? Or maybe you're just like, yeah, right. It is kind of chalkish. So anybody who Maybe went really chalkish. You're feeling pretty good. All the ones and twos are still alive. This was kind of what I was wondering if it was going to happen. All season long we're saying, "Oh yeah, this tournament, anybody. This is a season where you know there's so much parity. Different teams are going to be. There's going to be upsets, and nope, not. Well, I mean, there's been some upsets, but Sweet 16 is loaded with some chalk. Loaded with some chalk right now. So anybody in a good spot? Shout out to Paul and Kyle, who are currently leading our bracket challenge right now on our websites. Don't forget, we got a little fun one there too. So if you kind of want to redo your Sweet 16, we got a separate Sweet 16 bracket challenge up. Just go to sportstalk1051.com, click on the fan cave tab, and you'll see the tab. So, like if you're on the leaderboard, it goes to 64, the main bracket, but then you got a couple more tabs, Sweet 16, and a Final Four one. So if you want to, like, okay, I got to redeem myself here. Let's try this Sweet 16 bracket challenge here. You can go have some fun and do that too. Get some bragging rights if you want over there. So we'll get back to some college hoops. Let me know your thoughts on this potential new kickoff rule too. We spent some time talking about that. Landing zone, putting a little bit more pressure on the kickers. You like that? Thumbs up, thumbs down on the potential of a new kickoff rule in the NFL with the intention of increasing returns. A couple of years ago, it seemed like they were trying to get rid of the kickoff. Now it seems like they're trying to bring it back. Super Bowl didn't have any returns. Kind of boring. So now the NFL is maybe trying to bring it back, but in a safe manner. So do you like this idea that they're throwing out there? There's a lot of different things involved with it. I know we went through it a couple times. You can look it up. We'll revisit it coming up in the final hour. But do you like it, or do you think it's too gimmicky? You're making it too complicating, and that's kind of sours it for you a bit. All right, hit me up with a text, tweet, or Facebook message, and we'll get back to some of your thoughts over there too. So, but shot clock's going to cut me off, so we're going to begin the third and final hour with a little weekend hangover, the highs and the lows. What were my highs and lows? What were your highs and lows? Let me know. All right, 2 in, 1 to go. Some news updates, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Third and final hour, kicking off on this snowy, wet Monday morning. Careful out on the roads. I mean, it's been a few hours since I've been on the roads, but I got to imagine they're probably still slick in some spots. Shout out to all the snowplow drivers out there. They're trying to clear off the roads and such and driveways. Anybody wants to be a good Samaritan, do mine before I get home. Kidding. Kind of not. But anyways, big shout out to all of you for, I know you've been working a lot of hours because when I was driving in at 3 something this morning, a lot of you were already working out or working and getting stuff cleared out and such. So city plowers, highway plowers, or just, everybody, private businesses and such, big thanks for clearing everything out there for everybody. So what do we got coming up in this final hour? We're going to get to a little weekend hangover coming up here in just a skosh. The highs and the lows from the weekend. We're gonna get back to some college hoops talk. The brackets. How is your brackets looking? Anybody feeling pretty confident with their Sweet 16 and how everything's playing out? Anybody feeling good? It's gone chalkish for the most part here. When you kind of look at it, Badger wise, we talked a lot about the Badger basketball team in the first hour with Greg Gard and such. I know there's a lot of Badger fans disappointed, upsets with the program right now after losing in the first game of the tournament late Friday night against James Madison. So, but where do they go from here? Where does this Badger team go from here? I don't think I'm the only one who's kind of holding their breath on AJ Storr and such. Like, please stay around for another year here. We know Connor Esigian is already out. He posted up on social media that he will be entering the transfer portal. Also, we spent some time talking about the new kickoff rule proposal in the NFL. Looking for thumbs up, thumbs down on this. Definitely involves two things. Trying to get more returns in the game, but also putting a little bit more pressure on the kicker's shoulders too to get it in that, quote, landing zone area. Accuracy is going to be a big thing now. So we'll get back to all that. Bucks picked up a big win last night too. We got just a few days away from opening day here. We covered all that. We'll get back to some of that here in just a skosh. But let's do a little weekend hangover to open this up. The highs and the lows from the weekend. The easy low, right? The easy low is this Badger basketball team losing in the first round to James Madison. And I know that was a very popular 12-5 upset, especially from a lot of national peeps. It was a popular one, so maybe not a ton of people are surprised by it. But I think if you are a Badgers fan, it's definitely a low from you. It's definitely a low for you. So the highs, though, I got some more highs. I mean, it's kind of a tie. You could throw Marquette getting into the Sweet 16. So they advanced. They're still alive. Badger men's hockey team making the tournament. They're a 2 seed. And I know they're probably feeling a little bit low, but the Badger women's hockey team falling just a bit short from the getting their 8th national championship, losing yesterday 1-0 to Ohio State. So might be kind of a low that they were that close, but also a high because again, it's a program, it's a team that has just continued success, has had a ton of success with Mark Johnson over there. So there you have it. I me personally, I'd throw another little high in there, weekend high. My kid's beating me in brackets again. I don't know how long it'll last here, but I looked at it. Hudson's in second place on our bracket challenge. He's beaten Dad again for the second straight year. I don't know what this kid's doing, but he's apparently not listening to me. I mean, I'm in fourth, but tied for fourth, but Hudson's in second right now. So he doesn't even know that yet. He's at grandma's. So got to give it to the kid. Got to give it to the kid. So I think some lows too. You got to go with the Ohtani thing. Now Ohtani is going to address allegations. It's from the mothership, but he declared in a clubhouse on Sunday that he would make himself available to reporters and address the illegal gambling and theft allegations the following afternoon. So that would be today. I mean, there's still a ton of questions surrounding this thing. And I think there's a lot of unknowns whether Otani, how involved Otani was in, was he in this? How much did he know? I mean, there's a ton. Major League Baseball did announce on Friday that they have started their investigation into this. So that's definitely a low from the weekend too, or from the last few days. I mean, you've got arguably the biggest star in Major League Baseball, global star, in Otani, and now involved into this, whether he is or not. I don't want to point fingers or accuse or anything like that. It doesn't look good right now. There's a lot of questions surrounding this. You hope that he comes out all good, and that, obviously if it's good on his part, that means maybe that he was taken advantage of in that, but it's definitely a low from, the past few days here. More than just from Friday, past few days here, this Otani news. It's the biggest news in Major League Baseball when we are just a couple of days away from opening day. This is not what Major League Baseball wanted to be the storyline with opening day coming up on Thursday. And I know the season kind of started off with Dodgers and Padres last week, but opening day, their traditional opening day coming up here in a couple days, this is not what you want leading into this thing. And I don't know how quick or how long this investigation by Major League Baseball is going to last. But I also feel like, too, whatever outcome they find or whatever whatever info they find out, I do feel like there's going to be some skeptical fan bases or skeptical fans out there about what Major League Baseball finds or what decisions they come to. It's going to be met with skepticism regardless of what outcome. If they clear Otani, there's going to be some skepticism from fans, like, oh, did they just let it go by because he's Otani? Or if they find something out and they do something, there's going to be fans. Why would you do that to Otani, your biggest superstar out there? Regardless of what they find and regardless of what decisions are going to be made, it'll be met with some skepticism. And this is not what Major League Baseball or anybody in the sports world or any sports fan or any baseball fan wanted to see just a few days away from opening day. Or, maybe if you're just a Dodger hater and that you want some bad stuff to happen to the Dodgers too. Who knows? So, but that's definitely a low. Definitely a big low in the sports world. And, Friday with Major League Baseball announcing too that kind of that Friday news dump announcing they would begin their investigation or have begun their investigation into this. So that's those are some of my weekend hangovers from the weekend or from the past few days, if you will. If you want to send us yours, you can, hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Hey, quick reminder too, if you have not signed up for the 4th annual Casper Classic coming up on August 2nd, teams are going fast. I last week already had to start working on pairings because teams have been going by fast. So if you're interested in helping out and sponsoring, I know I got to reach out to a couple of you. I apologize for the lateness of it, but it's been nuts with some of the signups here. But if you're interested in becoming a whole sponsor or anything, reach out to me. I promise I will email you. I know I got a couple of you to email yet, but that'll ensure that you get your tee time where you want to have your tee time. We got 3 flights this year. If you want to get in your 9 holes early on, we got a 7:30. The 10 a.m. one now, we had to shut it down because we got to save some for some sponsors, potential sponsors. Still got some open for the 1:30, but not a lot. So just head to sportstalk1051.com and you can get some info there and register your 2-person team at sportstalk1051.com. Even if you're not a golfer and you want to hang out and you want to help backyard dreams, or maybe you don't want to golf, but hey, you want to help out? We'll take anything. We'll anything to help backyard dreams. You want to make a donation or anything like that? Reach out to me and we'll work something out. All right, we'll work something out. So, All right, let's talk some more college hoops here. Quite a few of you saying your brackets are busted, although I feel like that's almost the case every single year. Ben is saying though that he's feeling pretty good. He's got his entire Final Four still alive in his bracket challenge. UConn versus Purdue, with UConn winning it. We got Eric saying he's feeling okay about his bracket. He still has all of his Final Fours, but is a little bit nervous. Not sure what he's got in his Final Fours. Didn't put that on there. Greg is saying my bracket is over with. I've got two of my Final Four teams out of it. One team left in the national championship. That is UConn. Yeah, kind of. It's a mixed bag of everything. I know I posted it up on our Facebook group page yesterday, our Man Cave Conversations Facebook group page, and some of you just kind of responded with the laughing emoji, which I guess is the answer of how your brackets are doing right now. So, if you could redo your bracket, which you can, kind of, we're doing that Sweet 16 challenge also on our website. But if you could redo maybe your national championship based off of what you saw this weekend, would you change it? Would you change your pick to win it all? Or maybe did it just kind of solidify everything for you? You're like, you know what, Duke, maybe looking pretty good. Purdue looking pretty good. UConn just doing their thing. Maybe you're a little bit nervous after Houston getting a win in overtime yesterday. But for the most part, I mean, the bracket is, as we've been saying, kind of chalkish. You got UConn versus San Diego State. That's a 1-5. Illinois versus Iowa State. That's a 2-3. That's in the east side. In the south side, you got the 1 seed Houston going up against number 4 Duke. Marquette, 2 seed, going up against NC State. That's where, that was the one where we had a couple upsets where Texas Tech lost to NC State and a 6-11. Oakland obviously beating Kentucky. Then NC State beating Oakland in overtime. So 2-11. In the West, you've got a 1 versus 4. Worked all chalk. North Carolina, Alabama. Clemson upset Baylor. So you got a 2-6. Arizona's moving on. Purdue versus Gonzaga. Gonzaga just dominating Kansas. That's a 1-5. And then a 2-3 in the Midwest with Creighton and Tennessee. So, yeah, you got a couple. You got Clemson as a 6 still in. NC State is 11. Other than that, it's chock full of 1s, 2s, and a mixture of 4s and 5s. I think if I were to redo mine, I still might keep it UConn and Purdue in a national championship. I mean, that's where I'd still roll with it. I guess I haven't seen anything different to change my national championship pick. I think Purdue should be able to take care of Gonzaga. They should get to the Elite Eight. I think it's going to be a very interesting test whether Purdue faces Creighton or Tennessee in the Elite Eight. That is easily going to be their toughest test up to this point. And I think it could be a fantastic game, regardless of who they play between those two. Which means that Creighton and Tennessee game, of the Sweet 16 games, which ones are you looking most forward to? I'm probably looking at, there's a couple of really good ones. Illinois and Iowa State, I think, is going to be fantastic. I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch. I think Creighton and Tennessee is going to be really fun to watch. And I think Duke and Houston is going to be fun to watch. I'm not a Dookie, but I think that could be a good game. So there's a couple of these Sweet 16 games that I think or Sweet 16 matchups that I think are going to be a lot of fun. Creighton and Tennessee, Illinois, Iowa State, I think is going to be a lot of fun. And Duke and Houston. That Illinois Iowa State one might be really good. Why is it got to be so late though, too? That's a Thursday late game there too. So, man. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get back to some more of your texts coming up here. If you're not driving, hit us up with a text, 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break. Give me your thoughts on that proposal of that new kickoff rule in the NFL. Too gimmicky? Or do you like it? You like the creativity of it? We'll be back with more. Girls were coming out of hibernation. Maybe they're back under here for at least just a couple of days, though. Well, for some of us, though, we are in Wisconsin, so grilling season never ends. And do it the right way this year. That means heading to Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. Brats, burgers, chicken, beef, whatever you're grilling or putting on the smoker, you want to make sure it's quality. And that's what Mike's Star Market gives you. Hey, plus now they've got freeze-dried candy. And get this, if you purchase a bag of the Jolly Rancher ones, $1 per bag goes to Backyard Dreams. Especially with Easter coming up, I've heard the Easter Bunny also grabs, he goes to Mike's Star Market for his candy supply over there. So the Easter Bunny can do it. Why won't you do it? So what are you waiting for? It's time to do some shopping at Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. We've got one more movie left for the Spring Kids movie series. Had Field of Dreams this past weekend, but it's the Spring Kids movie series at Micon Cinemas at the Oakwood Mall location. Last one up, Space Jam this weekend. Partial portions of the proceeds going to help Backyard Dreams. So a big thanks to Micon Cinemas for partnering us up with that, or partnering with us for that. 11 a.m. showtimes, Saturday and Sunday, $3 admission, just $2 popcorns and $2 soda. So the original Space Jam, not the new one, the original with the best soundtrack of all time coming up this weekend. Also, one more reminder here too, because with opening day coming up here, the home opener for the Brewers will be next Tuesday against Minnesota. And it looks like there is just a couple of tickets left for our bus trip to go down to Milwaukee as they take on Minnesota for the home opener. So if you want to get your seat on the bus, it's just a couple left. Just head to wiscotrips.com or sportstalk1051.com and reserve your seats. It's a round trip motor coach transportation. You don't have to do any of the driving. Game ticket for the Johnsonville party deck, which includes food and beverages. And if you are 21 or older, a couple of cold ones over there. And then tailgate party from Premier Catering. Couple of pickup locations, Eau Claire, Sam's Club. It'll leave 7:30 a.m. sharp on April 2nd. And then if we got some listeners over in this area, there is another pickup at the Road Ranger in Oakdale at 8:50. So, all right. About bottom of the hour here. Getting close to the bottom of the hour here. It seems like a majority of you are in favor of the new potential. It's not official yet, but new potential kickoff rule. James had said a little bit earlier he'll embrace it. One thing I like about it is that it eliminates the squib kick at the end of a game. A kickoff in a one-score game with 20 seconds left will mean something. A lot of other of you just kind of shooting us a quick text with thumbs up that you like it. You like the fact, this is from Nick. Nick says he likes the fact that the return game is going to be an emphasis again. Another texture here, let me scroll through it. It was from Josh. Josh said it puts more on the shoulders of the kickers, which I like. It makes kickers even more important in the game and not just solely on kicking field goals and extra points. So, yeah, I like it too. I mean, the one thing I don't like about rule changes a lot of times is that if we're making the game a little bit more confusing, then it's like, what the heck? And let's face it, this one is going to be a little bit more confusing, and it's going to take some time to get adjusted to, especially with 3 different options, actually maybe 4 different options of where a team is going to start on the field after a kickoff. So, I mean, one would be the easy one when they return it wherever they get tackled. You could end up on the 20. You could end up on the 35. You could end up on the 30, depending on the whole landing zone thing. So again, if you're just joining us and you're like, well, what are those areas out there? So first of all, the landing zone is the red zone. Landing zone is the area between the receiving team's goal line and its 20-yard line. Any kick that hits short of the landing zone that is treated like a kickoff out of bounds and the ball is spotted at the 40, the ball will be blown dead as soon as the kick lands short of the landing zone. So potentially a 40, just like if you kicked out of bounds. Any kick that hits in the landing zone must be returned So if you catch it, or if you let it drop and it just stays there in the landing zone, you got to pick it up and run it. Any kick that hits in the landing zone and then goes into the end zone must be returned or downed. If it's downed, touchback is at the 20, not to 25, to 20. And then if a kick hits in the end zone, stays in bounds, you have to return it or downed. If downed, then you go to the 35. If any kick that goes out of the back of the end zone, you go to the 35 too. So 40, 20, 35, or depending on where you return it. It's going to be a little confusing at first. It's going to be a lot of like, okay, where? So it landed there, and then it went there. So where does it go? It's going to be a little bit of adjustment. And then you got onside kicks. There's no surprise onside kicks anymore. Team has to declare it. Fourth quarter begins. The team trailing has the opportunity to declare an onside kick to the officials. So one thing if we make rules, if we make them so complicated that it's like, then I don't like it. But these seem to be fairly cut and dry that after we give it a little bit and get used to it, it'll be fine. The one thing I don't like when it comes to rule changes is when it just maybe opens it up to more interpretation. Like, what is a catch? They've adjusted the rules so much that I don't know what a catch is anymore. They've adjusted pass interference so much that I don't know what's pass interference or what constitutes as pass interference sometimes. The big one, though, is the catch. Going to the ground, having full control, making football moves. It's like, okay. If we're playing back on recess again, I could tell you what's a catch or what we team deemed as a catch in that. When we get to stuff like that, though, and it gets like, too many rules, or too many alterations, where it gets confusing and such, no thank you. But I feel like it's pretty cut and dry. Might just be confusing at first. I do like the fact that they're trying to bring back the return game. I was never in favor of when a few years ago it sure seemed like they were trying to get rid of the return. And at that point, it was like, you might as well just, for crying out loud, you might as well just start the game at the 25 and get rid of the kickoff. That's where it was. In the Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl, you had no returns. Obviously, the NFL didn't like that. It was pretty boring. Kickoff, okay, go. It's like, what was the point? So now they're trying to get it, still keeping it safe, still trying to limit, injuries on kickoffs, concussions on kickoffs. I like that they're trying to bring back the kick returns back into it. It's an exciting play, and it's a game-changing type of play too. I want to see that back in there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm open to it. I'm open to it. I want to see how it plays out. And it seems like that's where the majority of you are right now. So again, there's a lot of talk because they've got the owners meetings going on right now, or league meetings, I should say, whatever they're freaking calling it. But it seems like they're going to talk about it, but they may not vote on it because there is a lot of different parts to it. It might have to be voted on in their May meeting, I guess. And then potentially, 24 out of the 32 teams have to go in favor of it, have to vote in favor of it. So, nothing else. I think the NFC coaches, their breakfast with the media must be tomorrow, since today was the AFC coaches over there. So nothing from Coach LaFleur. He is down there because he was in the coach picture that was released yesterday. But here you go, Packers fans. This was from Ryan Wood, because he's down there. But Ryan Wood had asked Doug Peterson, who is the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He asked Doug Peterson what he liked about Darnell Savage, who signed a 3-year, $21.75 million deal. Doug Peterson's response: his nickel coverage ability and his ability to blitz, which Ryan Wood noted, two things that Savage almost never did with Joe Barry. His full answer, as Ryan Wood posted up there, his nickel coverage ability inside, his ability to blitz, good tackler. He's a willing tackler, pretty good cover guy. Just all the things we were looking for at that position. He's got the versatility to play multiple spots too on defense, so he does give you that safety flex. If you want to do that, he could play that nickel spot if you want to play him there. But again, maybe another example here of, was Darnell Savage put in the best position to succeed? I mean, for a couple years, we kept hearing, Darnell even said it himself, that he kind of wanted to play, wanted to, be a nickel corner, transition into that, in nickel situations, be the nickel corner. This is something I will never, ever, ever understand. Why coaches sometimes do this when you have a certain player or you have certain players and they do some things really well. You don't put them in that position, though. You don't allow them to be that type of player. You're trying to make them do something that maybe they're not that good at. Square peg in a round hole. And here's the other thing. Were they not on the same page when drafted and all that? And I get, timing of drafting, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Pettin might have been there. So Joe Barry inherited him, but still. Why do coaches still do this where it's like, nope, you got to do what we're doing. You got to adapt to it. I get it to a certain point. You got to do what the coach is calling it. But I mean, if you got a player, because I'll tell you what, if Savage goes to Jacksonville here and he turns out to be a really good player, covering the slot, being a nickel corner, and we're seeing him blitz from the safety spot that's given us flashbacks of Leroy Butler back in the day, you're going to have a lot more people annoyed with the Joe Barry experience. Adding on Devondre Campbell, what he said last week, I don't understand why coaches continue to do this. I get it. You want your player, you build a scheme, you build a system, players have to build a net. But at some point, though, too, don't you want to be flexible in your system and try to put your players, what they do best, you put your players, you put your employees, whatever, in a position to succeed? Because you know what? If they succeed, you're probably succeeding. Why is this so hard for some to understand? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's an ego thing, but I'm sorry. Joe Barry, this was your third run as a defensive coordinator. The ego should have went out the door before you even got the job. Probably should have been doing whatever it takes to make me look good and to make this defense look good. Just don't get it. I mean, that's why don't want to get on a tangent. Grind my gears is tomorrow. But saw that pop up. I'm like, just another. I mean, you had a coach from an opposing team, not even in your same conference, talking about some of the stuff that was like, yeah, that's probably what he does best. And we kept hearing it for the last couple of years, but we never saw it. All right, let's take our final break here. We'll do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. We got some hoops games, NBA games, and such to pick at. So we'll do that. Take our final break here, and we'll be back to wrap up things after these few words. Time for some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Let's games that we're going to pick. Then we only got 2 NHL games on the docket for tonight. Let's start off with the NHL games. We got Vegas taking on the Blues of St. Louis. Give me the Golden Knights in this one. I'll ride with the Golden Knights. We've got the LA Kings taking on the Vancouver Canucks. I'm going to go with the Canucks. 45 wins so far this season. Give me the Canucks, especially since it's in Vancouver. NBA slates. We know the Bucks are not in action tonight, but we got a couple games here. Let's go with, let's do Indiana at LA. The Clippers, excuse me. But that's going to be a late one there. So Pacers versus the Clippers. Clippers are favored by 5.5 in this one. I'll go with the Clippers. With this one. 22-12 at home. Pacers are just 19-17 on the road. So, yeah, give me the Clippers for that one. Let's go with Philadelphia at Sacramento. Sacramento's favored by 11, or it opened up at 11.5, now 9.5. Philly just 18-17 on the road, 39-32 overall. Sacramento 41-29. I'm going to go Sacramento, but I don't think they cover. I'll go Sacramento, but 9.5. That kind of worries me just a skosh there. So, yeah. Other ones, I mean, they're kind of lopsided here at this point. Boston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Cleveland, Detroit at New York. So I think we'll just stick with those 2 NBA games. So those are your quick picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room. Again, reminder, you can go to sportstalk1051.com, click on the fan cave, and check your picks and predicts over there for the bracket challenge. Shout out to Paul and Kyle, who are tied for first place in the bracket challenge over there. You can see where you're at on the leaderboards. And a reminder, too, if you want to partake in the Sweet 16 bracket challenge, there's that's up there, too. So if you're looking at the leaderboard, you'll see a couple tabs, 64, 16, and then a 4. So if you want some extra bragging rights, you can do the 16-team bracket challenge over there as well. Again, that's at sportstalk1051.com. Just click on the Fan Cave tab. What else do we got on the docket? So we spent a lot of time this morning talking some college hoops with the Badgers. One and done, not even getting a win in the tournament, losing to James Madison late Friday night. It's a lot of frustration from a lot of Badger fans out there. So I get it. I understand it. I don't think anything will be done in terms of a coaching change, but I do think that maybe I shouldn't say maybe. I do think he's going to enter next season on the hot seat. I'm just really hoping AJ Storr comes back. He was non-committal after the game, and I get it. You know, you're getting asked these questions minutes after you get upset in a tournament. So he was non-committal about coming back to the Badgers, about going to the draft, about going to the transfer portal. I mean, some of his answers, he sure seems like he loves Wisconsin and his teammates. So I hope he's back in Wisconsin for another year, at least another year. We'll see, though. We know Connor, though. He's already declared that he's going to enter the transfer portal there. So Sweet 16 will get into action Thursday. And we kind of looked at some of the matchups. I think there's a couple really good ones there. I like that Tennessee-Creighton one. I like that Iowa State-Illinois one. I think that's going to be a really fun one. And I think even Duke and Houston's going to be fun, too. There's some really good matchups in this Sweet 16. A lot of chalk, but some really good matchups. We spent some time. It looks like the majority of you are in favor of the proposal for the new kickoff rule, the landing zone and that. So a lot of thumbs up on that pick or on that proposal. It's not official yet. 24 of the 32 teams have to vote on it. It doesn't sound like they may vote on it at this current owners meeting, but maybe the one in May. So, but overall, majority of you saying thumbs up on that. Bucks wise, we talked about their big win yesterday. I think probably their best defensive performance. One of the best defensive performances all season long, holding Alexander to just 12 points in 30 minutes. The second lowest scoring affair he's had all season long. Giannis continuing to make a case for an MVP, another MVP season, 30 points, 19 rebounds. Middleton with a triple-double, 11 points, 10 boards, 10 assists. Awesome win for the Bucks yesterday against one of the better teams in the entire NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and just a really solid defensive performance, really good defensive performance against one of the better offensive teams out there, especially that third quarter where they clamped it down and they were like all over the place, but outscoring them 34-17 in that game. So Bucks will be back at it tomorrow against the Lakers. Just a few days away from opening day for the Brewers. I've got a couple spring training games yet. Today, you're going to be able to hear spring training game against Colorado at 3 o'clock. I think coverage begins. First pitch at 3:10. So that's going to be on the radio dials at 105.1 FM and 790 AM. One more tomorrow, and then games matter starting on Thursday. All right, so opening day starting on Thursday. We got to see Wade Miley get some spring training action in. Don't count on him being on the opening day roster, though. Joe Ross looked really good. Same game, going 5 innings, striking out 8. DL Hall had a solid performance yesterday. We're going to see Colin Ray today, Aaron Ashby tomorrow. Some final tune-ups before the regular season begins on Thursday. So we'll have more baseball talk throughout the week leading up to opening day. And don't forget about our opening day get-together on Thursday at Hy-Vee. What else do we got on here? We did some weekend hangovers, and we did the Are You Serious Nuggets. That was the Bucks thing. That kind of actually surprised me, as noted by ESPN. This was the first time yesterday's game that the big three were on the court same time, which kind of still surprised me since February. But the preferred lineup, when you add in the big three, then Brooke and Malik Beasley, first time since the end of January. It's been a hot minute. So that kind of surprised me there a little bit too. So we're going to have a new episode of the Man Cave Podcast brought to you by our good friends Toyson Ford. Hey, the closer we get to summer, are you starting to figure out your 2024 travel plans or your schedule to get all your kids to their games and events? You need to make sure you have a proper working vehicle to get to point A to point V. Head on over to Toyson Ford to check out their lineup of new and used vehicles. Man Cave Podcast brought to you by Toyson Ford and Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee perks, right? If you're not taking advantage of Hy-Vee perks, you're missing out, especially saving at the pump. But that new Man Cave Podcast will be up later this morning. Again, Brandon and I did a baseball preview last Friday. That one was posted up on Friday where we make our baseball predictions and some Brewers predictions over there too. So tomorrow we'll do some Ray's Place, who cut and didn't cut the mustard. So this is your homework assignment, class, all right? Who cut, didn't cut the mustard? Send me your picks so we can get to those right away tomorrow. Also, tomorrow is an ASAP used auto parts Grind My Gears Tuesday. Looking for somewhere to get maybe this weather. It's like, oh crap, yeah, I need some new tires, or maybe you need an oil change. Get it all done at one place, ASAP Used Auto Parts. So not only is ASAP Used Auto Parts your go-to place for a wide range of high-quality used auto parts, they also offer oil changes and can hook you up with a new set of tires to hit the road. So your Grind My Gears Tuesday is also tomorrow. So think about that, what's grinding your gears, and we'll get to those picks coming up tomorrow. Nope. Okay. Nothing on there. I thought we had something there, another football nugget, but nope, doesn't look like it. So, all right. Yeah, majority of you, going back to the Greg Gard thing to kind of recap, I'm going through the texting online here, but it seems to be really 50-50. There's a big chunk of you, big chunk of Badgers fans that would like to see a change there. And a handful of you said that I would like to see a change, but I know it's not going to happen. Plus, who is out there that would be available right now? The rest of you seem to be like, give him another year, but he enters next year on the hot seat. You know, the wild card in this whole thing is Chris McIntosh. I mean, we've seen the moves made. You know, football, maybe it was kind of, we could see it. Recruiting from Paul Chris was kind of taking a hit. Maybe enthusiasm wasn't quite there and such. You know, hockey, we could see it was really going downhill I don't know if this basketball program is going downhill like we kind of saw with football and the men's hockey team. So I think Greg Gard's going to get another shot. I think he opens up next year still as the coach. But yeah, I think that seat's going to get a little warm. I mean, TJ from Iowa State, their head coach, Whitewater kid, played ball at Whitewater. I think that's probably, if you were to poll Badger fans their dream hire, I think he'd be the new number one. And I think maybe a lot of people don't realize that he is a Wisconsin kid, that he played basketball at Whitewater, and he's got his number 2 seeded Iowa State in the Sweet 16. A lot of people thought they should have been a 1 seed, but I think he's probably the new, or at least he should be the new number 1 for a dream hire if it's not Greg Gard. I think Tony Bennett's that shine is off. Shaka Smart ain't leaving Marquette. So, I think, speaking of Marquette, I think they got a really good shot to get to the Final Four. I think they do now. They're playing some good hoops. They had a couple of good games there. So, but we'll see. Sweet 16 kicks off this Thursday. I think we got some good matchups in the Sweet 16. No doubt about it. I'm excited. So, don't forget, get me your Grind My Gears and Who Cut and Didn't Cut the Mustard. The Ray's Place, Who Cut and Didn't Cut the Mustard. Today, the next couple of days might be a good day to head on down to Ray's Place for some hotpies. They're opened up. They'll open up tonight. So don't go around lunchtime. They'll open up tonight. But maybe you're looking for a little supper tonight. Might be a good night to head on over to our good friends at Ray's Place for some hot beefs. That sounds pretty darn good right now. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. Especially if you've been spending all morning or will be spending all day shoveling or plowing in that. So warm up, dry out with a nice hot beef. All right, DP and the Danettes, they're going to be up next here. Shot clock's going to cut me off in about 20 seconds. Again, if you want to check out your standings in the bracket challenge leaderboard, just go to sportstalk1051.com. Click on that fan cave tab, and you'll be able to see where you're at. Type in your name if you're not on the first page of the leaderboard. See where you're stacked up with everybody else over there. And if you want, you can make your Sweet 16 picks for the bracket challenge over there too. I'm gonna have to do that later on this morning. I need some redemption here. Hudson's beating me again. Beating me again. Second year in a row. Dude's killing it. He's in second. Have a good rest of your day. Big thanks to all the snowplow drivers out there clearing off the roads. Big thanks. Be careful out there. I don't know how the roads are still right now, but got to imagine some roads are probably still a little snow covered. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6. Talk to you then.